Welcome to the 4Cs podcast for SAP Business One, brought to you by Third Wave Business Systems. I'm Mike Hamm, and my colleague Tyson McMurren, bringing you a podcast that takes a deeper dive into the ERP system that is SAP Business One. We'll be hosting product experts and members of the Business One community, helping you, a Business One user, get the most out of SAP Business One. Welcome, everyone, to the 4Cs for SAP Business One podcast. I'm Mike Hamm, and with me, as always, is Tyson McMurren. Today, we'll be talking Connect, more specifically e-commerce, and how you do that. So let's jump right into it, as we always do, Tyson, with a quote. SAP Business One, here we are, and the quote is, as you grow, you'll need additional support from your e-commerce platform. What kind of support? Well, that's hard to predict. Every business is unique. That's why many brands use APIs to customize and automate their stores based on their needs. Tyson, what's that mean to you? What comes to mind when you hear that?
The automation really jumps out at me because APIs, yeah, we can pass data back and forth. That's really easy, but it's making sure that, the process that we're automating is staying in control with the overall objective of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you said, we touched upon it in the first podcast, is understanding what your processes look like and where the gaps you can fill with automation, right? Where are the time wasters? How can you identify those? And e-commerce and using an e-commerce platform is a major tool for helping eliminate a lot of those manual tasks. But like you said, the connection is going to be important, and talking about where that automation occurs and what's in control of it is something that you got to be cognizant of.
E-commerce is kind of a top of mind topic right now, just because we're seeing that a lot of companies that didn't have automation around these things, now they're looking to us to help them with the API in order to get things, streamlined as far as getting the orders into the system, because people are working from home. There's not the ability to kind of, ramp up quickly and to handle more transactions just because everybody's working remotely, and it's hard to stay on top of those types of things. But this isn't a new topic, Mike. We wrote a blog back in 2018 that's still relevant today. And one of the big things that we talked about there is just greater transaction throughput with fewer people, better accuracy of information, and really the whole goal for any type of integration is making sure that everything is thought of within the process. So in the show notes, Mike, you can maybe share the strategy and how to tailor it to a consumer product group type company for e-commerce. So again, this has been going on for years, and these APIs have been available for years. So this is nothing new. It's really important for us to just be able to understand that looking at the processes, looking at your supply chain, looking at your sales channels, handling the orders, knowing what the exceptions are going to be, and then also having a process so that if you do get an exception, how do you handle it? Because at the end of the day, Mike, the last thing you want is, to not have your fulfillment done on a Wayfair and you fall down in their ranking and nobody can find you on there. And then also on your own store, start having people, going out on your Instagram account and saying, I ordered something from these people and they haven't sent it and it's been months now.
Yep.
What's that cost, right? Like, what's the cost of that? So the API side of it, like I said, we at Third Wave, we can help you with the integration. That's quite easy. We can also help you think about some of the things that maybe you haven't thought about when you start talking about integration. And it really comes down to business process mapping, testing it, and really going through some business readiness, making sure that the staff understand what's going on, making sure that the systems are all configured properly, and then we cut over and we can go live with these APIs.
Oh, Tyson, that's a good segue into our 4Cs video, just to give the audience an idea of what we mean by the 4Cs.
As the original SAP Business One Gold Partner in North America, Third Wave Business Systems in Wayne, New Jersey partners with hundreds of growing businesses, and we work hard to ensure that every one of them is grounded in the 4Cs. With SAP Business One at the core. Connected with their business ecosystem, enabling everyone to communicate with the core, and empowered with the control needed to thrive in a digital world. The 4Cs, Third Wave, and you. Talk to us.
And let's talk about what's new and happening. In this episode, what we'll cover. First,
yes.
Is our year-end checklist. So, Tyson, you want to take us through that?
So, it's that time of year. We start getting a lot of phone calls from customers, just kind of asking, how do I close my books? How do I set up my posting periods? How do I do a bank rec? So what we've done is we've created a year-end checklist that just kind of walks through some of that. So in the show notes, we'll have a link that just talks about the posting periods and how to close your financial period and all of those types of things. I'm going to work on how to handle an incoming payment and a bank deposit for credit card transactions in the future as well. So that's something that I'm working on right now, and that'll kind of go into our year-end checklist for next year, because this is also the time of year that everybody starts to really need to finalize their bank reconciliation. So there's a lot of bank reconciliation questions. So I'm going to work on getting some tools and some links to everybody for that as well. But happy year end, everybody. If you do have any questions, reach out to us. We have a bunch of consultants and accountants on staff that can certainly help you out with any questions that you might have on year end.
Absolutely, and we'll be linking this as well in the show notes. This is a great thing to keep on hand. We use this time and time again to help a lot of our customers. We'll send it out, as the year's coming to a close, as something to have in your toolkit to look at, as a refresher, when you're wrapping up the year. Let's dive in now to Versago production data capture. Tyson, this is something that we've seen quite a bit of requests recently from our customers and prospects about. Could you talk us through this and what Versago can do in terms of production floor data capture?
Yeah, Mike, in episode 1, we were talking about how people were driven home and how the home office has, caused some of this e-commerce demand and APIs that we've just finished talking about. But the other thing we're seeing a big push on is the ability for the essential worker that's on the production shop floor still working to be able to communicate and interact with the remote worker. So we're getting a lot of questions around how do we manage things like production completion, quantities, production usage, quality control, environmental factors like clean room manufacturers where they need to grab what the ambient temperature was, any type of information about the goods that they were working, the raw materials that they were working with at that time, and sharing that. And this is where our customers are wanting to get away from the clipboard, Mike. And that clipboard, obviously, was capturing paper information. That paper information was getting handed into the employee that's now, as you mentioned in episode 1, driven home. So how do we get that paper to, somebody that's 20, 30, 40 minutes away from where that information is now? And that's where we're seeing a big uptick on people wanting to, capture some of this production information from the source and then share it out through workflow. So in the show notes, maybe Mike, what we can do is there's a video about production data capture, and it's about a company called OmniLife and how they use Versago to handle production data capture, quality control, and those types of things. So can you put that into the show notes, and our listening audience can check that out?
Absolutely. And you mentioned, something that really, resonated was that, they want to get away from the clipboard, which reminds me again, another way Versago is super helpful, particularly in a production floor environment, is that it's mobile and device friendly, right? You see the emergence of tablets a lot in production floors nowadays, and that's something that Versago has the flexibility to be on that iPad or tablet on the production floor. It's as easy as snapping pictures and entering in whatever fields that you need to bring that data to you right into the palm of your hand. We talk about being driven home and we're on our phones more often than our desktops, some of us, and Versago is user friendly for that.
Yeah, it's amazing how a year ago, Mike, just before the pandemic started, everybody was requesting the signature capture.
Yep.
The digital signature capture, and that's a feature that Versago has. But one of the main features that I've been doing a lot of, and you just mentioned it, is the photo capture and being able to share that photo. And if you remember in episode 1, I showed that with the printer, right? Where it was like, I can take a picture of the printer, I can take a picture of the invoice, and I can get that into the hands of that user that's been as I think you should probably try and get a trademark on that driven home language, because it really does resonate with exactly what's happened. Is everybody feels disconnected, and Versago and Third Wave can really help you reconnect with these people through the use of the digital technologies that are available.
We can transition now to our Shopify demo environment. We touched upon this in the beginning, is integrations to e-commerce, and talk us through a little bit more about the Shopify demo environment.
Yeah, Mike. So recently we did a webinar. If you recall, I think you were the host of that webinar, or you coordinated it, and you've been talking with everybody that attended it, and we've been getting a lot of questions around Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento, WooCommerce, all these different types of integrations. So what we did is we set up a Shopify demo environment just to kind of showcase how we can handle e-commerce integration. So I call it a Shopify demo environment, but really it's an e-commerce demo environment that's connecting to a Shopify web store. But the big thing that we talked about at the beginning is really around, we can automate, these APIs where we're connecting and sharing the information through. And if you just want to show the graphic here, one of the big problems that our customers were running into is, it's quite easy for us to do this, and I don't want to get, too technical, but basically we can go out and we can get data from, the e-commerce site. We can map that value over into the SAP field. So you can see here that, the card code goes go out to the workflow that we've got the script from the web customer field and, map it in. So if you see on the left side there, this is the information that we're getting from the e-commerce site. And then up in the middle, this is how we map those APIs into the SAP fields. So, this is fairly easy to do. And it's literally you go in and you click F4 and you just do a drag and drop and you start to map things together. But if you go to the next slide, the problem with this is what I talked about at the beginning, which is I add an item in SAP. Just because I've added that item doesn't mean that I already want it out on our e-commerce store. Maybe I need to change the item description, or maybe I need to change the item code, or maybe I want to adjust the inventory level that can be shown to the Shopify user by increasing or decreasing it by a percentage or by a number. So what we did is we added the staging step in between that allows us to control the information flow between the two. So again, the API is going to flow very quickly. We can get items up and up to Shopify, but we really, in talking with the customers, and in looking at what people are needing to do, we wanted to be able to streamline this so that it's not adding a whole bunch of user-defined fields in SAP in order to, manage the rules to the Shopify, or as I talked about, adding all these warehouses so that you can handle the inventory levels and the available to promise. So in our demo environment, we have this Versago portal step where we can go into the portal and we can view the data, update the data, and then it's going to grab that information from the Versago portal data and put it into Shopify. And the same goes for the order entry. So the next slide here is going to talk about the same thing, where the worst thing to happen with an API integration is go out, get the orders, and the first order out of the 10,000 orders that you need to sync into SAP Business One has a data problem. The ship to location field that was filled in on the Shopify site was too long for the SAP ship to location field in SAP, and it stops the whole integration, errors the whole file. There's no logging of why that file didn't load. And meanwhile, you have 9,999 orders that could have been processed. But because of that one error, the whole file fails. So with BizWeaver, what we can do is we can actually take those files and we run through a loop. So we read each of those files and we pass them through. So instead of BizWeaver just grabbing the file, mapping it into Business One, and if it errors, throw it into the error bucket, we loop. And we loop through and we go, is this one okay? Yes. Is this one okay? Yes. And if we hit an error, we can map that into the Versago data so that we can deal with that error on a one-off instead of having to deal with the whole file and searching through, this text file of XML to try and find, where the error is. So we can streamline that error messaging and error handling, where I can send an email, or as we just mentioned, a Teams message to a user saying, there's a web order that has an error. The user can then go in to Versago, look at that order in a screen versus trying to go through Notepad and try and see the data. We can display that data in a nice user interface. We can fix that order, and then we can put it into Business One. So for the listening audience, I'll talk through what's being shown in this short little snip. But basically, if you go to the next slide here, I just recorded a quick little synopsis. So this is the item master, and you can see that we have an update action where we can go in and we can, say that we're updating or changing. We can change our pricing. We can change our quantity, color, size, style. We can change any of those things, and whether or not you add it to the website. So here's a listing of all the items that need to go to the e-commerce, and then you can select it, go in and update the information that you need, and so on. And then on the error handling side of things, same thing. We can have where the error comes, we can show the order, we can click on that order, it can tell us what the error message was, and then we can go in and we can make a data correction right within Versago. So we can make that data correction, correct the value that needs to be corrected, and resubmit that data correction, and that one order is now into Business One as well. So again, we've already fulfilled the 9,999 orders. So why hold up all of our operations because of one order that has a problem? So this order correction piece and error handling is very, very handy, because it allows the Business One customer to be able to troubleshoot and fix these problems without having to call people like a third wave consultant to go in and look at the data set and try and figure out what the problem is. So this is the stuff that we were talking about at the beginning, Mike, where you know, having an API is great. But the quote even hit on it, Mike, which is having the API doesn't necessarily mean that it's, you know, matching to the unique business process that company has, right? And it says, you know, as the company grows, you're going to need additional support from your e-commerce platform. So this is where an API, you know, getting the order into Business One, we're going to save a lot of rekeying just with that, Mike. But being able to handle the errors, being able to manage and massage the items, and making sure that, you know, we have a centralized, easy to use interface to do those types of things. You can see just based off these screens, it's going to be very easy to train an end user on you know, what the error message was and how they can fix it. So again, if you want to see a full presentation of our e-commerce integration, reach out to us. We can have a one-on-one presentation. We can talk about your environment. We can talk about your business, because this is just talking about the order side of things, but there's also fulfillment. There's, you know, you might want to your order entry and your items, that might be really easy, but your fulfillment might be where, you know, getting the tracking numbers, getting the shipping labels printed out, going out and rate shopping the best rate for us to ship this item. These are all things that we at Third Wave have come across, and we can help you with it. So again, we'll be covering these off in future 4C podcasts, but, you know, if there's something top of mind, reach out to us. We can help you out with it.
And with that, you know, we covered a number of things, but all tying back to that central theme of connect, right? Why it's so important. You know, it provides you just what you covered there alone in just the error coding is what comes to mind to me is visibility. You know, it provides you greater visibility in cases of things that go wrong, right? And Mike does that.
And Mike, the one of the other C's is communication, and obviously I didn't show it, but that error handling, we can have an email or a Teams message sent to a user, so the communication is streamlined as well.
Even greater visibility.
And throughout today, I've been talking a lot about control, and I mean that's something that's near and dear to my heart. Being a CPA, you know, is control of a process. You know, it's really important to make sure that we can control our processes, because you know, automating things isn't enough. So, but yeah, everything around that connect and hopefully you can see, you know, with SAP Business One at the core of your business information, how, you know, between Third Wave and us, you know, talking about these 4 C's, you know, I just really want to make sure that we can help more people in the Business One ecosystem, you know, do more with less and ultimately be tremendously successful.
Absolutely. You know, the proper connection is going to provide you, you know, the proper automation and identifying, what to automate, where to make those connections happen, and with the know-how of what to keep in mind, you're going to avoid a lot of those pitfalls that, make folks nervous to make a major change in the way they do things, right? They hear the nightmares, they hear all those stories of failed implementations or people not buying in. And if you do it right, do your research and have a great trusted partner that's been there, like us here at Third Wave, we can walk you through common mistakes and challenges that we've seen and help you understand how to avoid them, how to see them coming, and not just the ones with the initial connection, right? I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff you'll see once you're up and running, stuff you'll see down the road, and that all goes back to having a trusted partner with the right connections and the right e-commerce platform that fits you and your needs and your experience, and you're going to be in business.
Yeah, and I think the big thing, Mike, that you just kind of touched on is the flexibility to handle these unique changes within an organization. Business One companies really are growing, evolving, adaptive, forward-thinking companies, and hopefully you can see with the 4 Cs and Third Wave how you can do more with Business One than you already are as well. So that's essentially what I wanted to cover off with you today, Mike, is talking about the connect and how we can help Business One companies.
Excellent. Well, Tyson, as always, appreciate the time. Appreciate you listening. Thank you all for joining us. We'll provide all the links that you saw today in the show notes, along with some resources. Follow us on LinkedIn, connect with us, reach out to us, let us know how we can help. And we'll see you next time on the 4 Cs for SAP Business One.
Stay safe, stay connected, everyone.